Jamal took a breath, then shifted gears, still respectful, but now diving into the next question. So, with that spirit in mind, what are your goals now? Are you planning to race full-time again? The camera zoomed in on Nazo. The whole nation was probably watching this moment live. Would they commit? Was this just a one-off comeback? Or were they truly back for good? Mayter leaned forward from where he stood offstage, curious too. Lightning held his breath slightly. Jamal's face lit up. This was huge. Not just a comeback, but a return to racing for the long haul. Grinning, so you're saying if things go well, you might be back on the grid full-time? Nazo nodded calmly. No ego, no bragging, just quiet commitment. The audience clapped again, louder this time. The energy in the studio shifted, from interview vibes to something bigger, a legend returning. Somewhere off camera, Lightning smiled proudly. Mater pumped his fist silently like he'd just won a race himself. And across Detroit, and maybe even nationwide, the fans watching at home probably felt it too. Nazo wasn't coming back for fame or money. They were coming back for racing. Jamal glanced at the clock. Interview time almost up. He didn't want to rush Nazo, but they had a tight schedule. Next was a live press conference with media from all over. Softly. Well, I think you just gave every racing fan in America something beautiful to think about. The audience applauded one last time as Jamal turned to the camera. That's all we have for now. Thank you, Nazo. Welcome back. Cue cheers, standing ovation from the studio crew and audience members alike. The screen cut briefly to commercials. Backstage, the sponsor team was already rushing toward Nazo. They knew this interview would blow up online. The second the camera light went off, Nazo stood, smooth and composed. The sponsor team surrounded them instantly. PR reps checking phones for reactions, stylists adjusting their suit one last time before press conference prep. That was perfect. Social media is already exploding. Nazo is back is trending. Lightning walked up as soon as he could. No mic packs or crew in the way now. Mater bounced behind him like an overexcited fanboy. You were awesome, like super cool and wise. Nazo chuckled quietly, the first real smile since arriving in Detroit. It felt good to be seen, not just as a racer returning, but as someone who still believed in something pure about racing. Lightning blinked, then his eyes widened slightly. He hadn't even thought about that. Oh. Mater's smile dropped too. They all realized Lightning wasn't prepared for a sudden flood of fans because of Nazo crediting him on live TV. Overhearing, "Oh yeah, you're about to blow up, buddy." Nazo was right. Once fans saw Lightning as the inspiration behind their comeback legend, his mailbox, DMs, and race fan clubs would explode overnight. No more quiet mornings with Sally. No more chilling in Radiator Springs without paparazzi popping up. The life of a racer who inspired another icon? Chaos incoming. Lightning rubbed the back of his head, a little nervous now. He'd never been in the spotlight because someone else credited him. Usually it was his own races making headlines, whispering, "Dude, you're gonna have fans camping outside your house." The sponsor team exchanged glances. They already saw opportunities. Joint merch, a collab appearance at a race. McQueen and Nazo could sell out entire stadiums. But for Lightning, it meant more interviews, more fan demands, less peace. Nazo studied him. They hadn't meant to throw that on him, but they knew it was true. The sun had dipped into evening, painting Detroit's skyline in soft orange and purple. Nazo, Lightning, and Mater were back at the hotel, getting ready for the final interview of the day. A late-night talk show called Racing Roundup. A little more relaxed than morning TV, less formal. More fun banter with fans calling in live. Backstage at the studio again, stylist touched up Nazo's suit, still looking sharp, while Lightning scrolled through his phone, already seeing tweets like, "Lightning McQueen inspired Nazo to come back? I can't handle this cuteness." Mater giggled every time he checked social media. The host of Racing Roundup, a charismatic former racer named Rick Vega, stepped into the green room to greet them. He smiled warmly, recognizing Lightning and nodding at Nazo with respect. "The legend returns! And you brought McQueen too?" "Ладно, вас подпасть this bullshit for that state. It's my problem. Say, goodbye, sheep cars. Sheep bear." Lightning stood, polite as ever, and shook Rick's hand. Mater stayed close behind like an excitable shadow. To Nazo, "We're doing something fun tonight. Live fan calls, bloopers from your comeback race, and I may have challenged you to a little race-off on screen." A playful smirk. Not real racing. They'd simulate it digitally for entertainment purposes. But still, not versus Rick on camera. Nazo gave a small, easy smile. They were relaxed now. The nerves from earlier interviews had faded. This one felt more like fun than pressure. "Awesome! We're going live in 5." The crew hustled around, microphones checked, digital race simulation loaded on screen, a retro-style pixel track, and fans already calling into the show's hotline. Lightning sat in the audience seats with Mater, both curious to see how this would go. They weren't on camera yet, just watching. Rick walked back to his chair on set as cameras rolled. Red light lit up. "Living in 2, 1, a cheerful intro theme played. And then, "Welcome back, racers. Tonight, a cock legend is here." The camera zoomed in on Nazo as the audience, both live and watching at home, erupted into cheers. The studio lights shimmered, highlighting their electric glow under the stage lighting. Grinning, that's right. Give it up for Nazo, folks. More cheering. Fans were holding signs, phones raised to record. Some were clearly longtime fans who'd missed them since retirement. Rick leaned forward like a friendly host having a chat with family. Now, I know you've been gone for years, but your comeback race blew everyone away. Tell us, what was going through your mind when you decided to return? The audience oohed at the raw honesty. No bragging, no, I came back to crush everyone. Just pure self-challenge and a desire to prove something, mostly to themselves. Nodding. Man, that's powerful. So it wasn't about fame or sponsors? It was about yourself? Nazo nodded calmly. Yeah, I didn't want my retirement being seen as weakness. Or like I quit because I couldn't handle racing anymore. A beat of silence passed. Then Rick smiled, clearly impressed by their humility. He glanced at the digital racetrack on screen behind them, the pixel cars ready for their little showdown. Rick leaned back with a mischievous grin, like he'd been waiting for this moment. All right, fans, you've been asking, and we're about to answer. He gestured dramatically to the screen behind them, the digital racetrack lighting up. A retro-style, cartoonish version of a racetrack appeared, colorful checkered flags, animated fans cheering in pixel form. Tonight, Nazo vs. Related Race-Up. No real cars, no risk, just fun. Audience cheered louder now. Some were holding up homemade signs that said, Go Nazo or Beat Rick. Lightning watched from the audience seats with Mater, both curious how this would go. Rick chuckled, raising his hands in mock surrender. Oh, absolutely. I'm not dumb enough to race the Nazo for real on live TV, no offense. The audience laughed. They knew this was all in good fun. The digital simulation was just a silly challenge, not a serious competition. This is just pixel cars going vroom vroom on screen. No pressure, unless you want it to be. A playful jab at Nazo, daring them to take the game seriously even though it wasn't real racing. Mater leaned forward eagerly. This might be goofy, but he still wanted Nazo to win. Rick grinned, loving Nazo's willingness to play along. The digital racetrack beeped as the countdown began. 3, 1, go! The pixel versions of their cars shot off the starting line, their tiny animated forms zooming down a cartoon racetrack. Fans cheered louder than ever, watching intently, narrating dramatically. And they're off! Nazo takes an early lead. But wait, I'm gaining on him! On screen, Rick's car pulled up close behind Nazo's, sparks flying in pixel form for effect. Lightning smirked. He knew this wasn't real racing, but it was still kind of fun to watch. The digital race tightened, both pixel cars neck and neck, flashing through the final straightaway. The audience held their breath, eyes glued to the screen. Photo finish! A dramatic slow-mo replay zoomed in, the checkered flag waving as both cars crossed at the exact same time. Silence for half a second. Then, no way! He looked genuinely shocked, not because he lost, they tied, but because Nazo had kept up perfectly on something so silly and the crowd erupted. Tie! How? Nazo did it! Mater jumped up clapping like it was an actual championship win. Rick threw his hands up, laughing, not upset at all. In fact, he looked impressed. Not bad. Dude, you tied with me on a fake race. That's skill right there. The audience loved it, cheering for both of them now. Some fans chanted, Nazo! Rick! A good-natured tie was better than drama or a blowout loss. Backstage crew started setting up the next segment. Fan calls incoming, but Rick leaned over to Nazo with genuine respect. You're still got that racer instinct, even in pixels. Rick snapped his fingers, and a producer quickly brought the phone line live. The first caller rang in, audible through the studio speakers. All right, let's hear from our fans at home. Next up, you're on air. What's your name? A nervous teenage voice came through. Hi, I'm Jamie. I've been a Nazo fan since forever. The audience quieted slightly, leaning in to listen. Jamie sounded genuinely starstruck. Lightning glanced at Mater. both curious what this kid would say about their idol returning after so long. Jamie took a tiny breath, still clearly nervous, but Nazo's calm tone eased them. Okay, I just want to say I missed you so much. Like, your races were the best. The way you drove? It wasn't just fast, it felt like art. A few fans in the studio awed at that. Even Rick smiled softly. Quietly, that's sweet. Jamie continued. And now that you're back with Lightning McQueen too, it feels like racing is finally getting better again. The audience melted. Jamie's words and Nazo's kind response struck a chord with everyone in the studio and probably watching at home too. Rick didn't even tease or joke this time. He just let the moment be. Pure, heartfelt connection between fan and racer. Oh, softly, really beautiful. Jamie sniffled slightly on the other end of the line. They were this close to crying happy tears. Thank you for coming back. A quiet pause filled the air, not awkward, but warm, like family reuniting after years apart. Jamie's voice wobbled with emotion. Then they giggled, clearly tearing up but happy. I will! I promise! Rick smiled and signaled the producer to end the call gently. The line went silent again. The studio felt softer now, not just a TV show, but something real. A moment that reminded everyone Racing isn't just about speed or trophies, it's about like Jamie, who love it too. After a beat, that was special. He looked at Nazo with new respect, not as a legend returning for fame, but someone who truly cared about their fans. Rick checked the clock on his monitor. Still plenty of time before the show wrapped. The producer nodded, holding up a sign that said, "Next caller ready," to audience. "We've got more fans waiting. Who's next?" The producer quickly patched in another call, this one a little deeper voiced, calmer. "Maybe an adult fan." A man cleared his throat before speaking. "Hi, my name is Dave. I was actually at your last race, the one where you retired." The studio quieted again. This caller wasn't cheering or gushing like Jamie. They sounded nostalgic, maybe even emotional about that final race years ago. Dave's voice softened, like he was remembering every second of that Roshan. The crowd silenced as Nazo crossed the finish line one last time. "Yeah, it was. I still have a photo from that day. You looked so proud, and then you just stopped." A pause. The studio held its breath. Dave continued. "When they announced your comeback, I cried, like full-on happy crying." Rick exchanged a glance with Nazo. This wasn't just fan excitement. This man had felt their retirement and returned deeply. The studio was dead silent. No clapping, no murmurs. Just everyone listening to Dave's story and Nazo's honest response. Dave sniffled a little on the other end. I never thought about it that way. That you didn't choose to leave. Nazo hadn't said it with pity, just truth. They weren't ashamed of their retirement. They'd been injured, broken down by accident, not weakness. Lost Ridley. Man, even Rick looked touched now, not as a host doing his job, but as someone who respected what real strength looked like in racing, coming back after being forced out. Dave took a shaky breath, clearly overwhelmed by Nazo's words. The weight of their comeback, the effort it took, finally hit him. That means a lot. I didn't realize how hard you worked just to get back here. Not many racers would do that. A few fans in the audience wiped tears. One even whispered, they came back for us. Rick leaned forward, genuinely moved too. To Dave, thank you for calling and sharing that. The producer signaled. Time was almost up. They had one last segment before wrapping the show. Dave's voice warmed with gratitude, like he just had a heart-to-heart with a legend and came out stronger. I will, and thank you, Nazo, for coming back. The line gently ended, and Rick turned to the camera, signaling the end of calls. All right, folks, that wraps up our fan segment. And what an amazing night it's been. Audience cheered one last time as Rick stood, turning fully to Nazo with a big smile. Closing theme music starting softly in the background, the show nearly over, but their comeback story just beginning. The studio lights dimmed as the show wrapped, closing credits rolling on screen. The crew began breaking down sets, and Rick walked over to Nazo with a warm smile. That was fantastic. You're great on camera. Lightning and Mater stepped forward too, having watched the whole thing from the audience area. Mater looked like he'd just seen magic happen. You were so cool. Like, super wise. Backstage staff handed Nazo a water bottle. They hadn't realized how thirsty they were until now. The adrenaline of live TV finally started wearing off. It was late, but tomorrow, the real race preparations began. Rick chuckled, leaning against a prop table. He'd heard stories about early 1990s racing. No social media, no live TV shows like this. Just word of mouth and trackside fans. Right? Back then it was all print interviews and maybe a local news spot if you were lucky. Lightning nodded too. He hadn't been around in the 90s, but he knew how different things were now. Everything was instant. Every interview played online within seconds. Mater blinked. So people didn't know you existed unless they saw you? A little innocent confusion from him, but an accurate question for the time period. Lightning's eyes widened slightly. He couldn't imagine a world where fans only saw racers on TV or in magazines. No Instagram, no YouTube clips, no 24/7 news cycles about racing. Man, I can't even picture that. Now, one interview like this, and it blows up the internet. Mater gasped dramatically. So you were mysterious? A few crew members nearby overheard and smiled at his wording. To him, Nazo had been a legend shrouded in secrecy, only seen occasionally on screen or in glossy race magazines. Rick's eyebrows shot up. Now that was a twist. Wait, you turned down a TV show? Back in the 90s? Nazo nodded. In that era, being offered roles outside of racing was rare for racers, not like today where athletes often do acting, commercials, or reality shows. Curious, what kind of show was it? Lightning tilted his head too. He couldn't picture Nazo on a sitcom or drama. They weren't flashy enough to seem like an actor, but then again, neither were most racers back then. Rick's jaw actually dropped. Not just any sitcom. Friends. No way. You were supposed to be on Friends? Like the Friends? The crew members nearby froze too, realizing how huge that offer was, even back then. Whispering? Mater didn't get it. Wait, who's Friends? A producer quickly explained. It was a super popular TV show about six friends in New York. Nazo had been offered guest star status on one of the biggest shows ever and turned it down for racing. The room fell quiet again, not out of sadness, but respect. That kind of choice, turning down a friend's appearance for racing, it said everything about Nazo's dedication to the sport. So, man, I can't even imagine that decision. One wrong move and you'd miss an entire episode. Nazo shrugged, no regret in their expression. It was simple. Racing came first. Lightning looked at them with newfound admiration. They hadn't chased fame, they said. They stuck purely to racing, even when huge opportunities knocked. Mater finally understood. So you loved cars more than TV? Rick frowned slightly, not at Nazo, but at the wasted opportunity. To be offered something like that and never get another chance? That stung. That's kind of a shame. I mean, you'd be amazing on TV. Lightning nodded in agreement. They had seen how charismatic and articulate Nazo was, especially during this interview tonight. The chemistry with fans? Natural. Mater piped up. Maybe they just forgot about you. A few crew members exchanged glances. Maybe it wasn't forgetfulness. Maybe the industry moved on too fast for racers who stepped away for years. Rick snapped his fingers. He knew Ghost, a modern comedy about ghosts in a haunted house, with human characters reacting to them. It was currently one of the hottest sitcoms on TV. Oh, Ghosts? That's huge right now. Nazo nodded. They'd heard of it but hadn't watched. They weren't exactly keeping up with shows anymore. Their life had been quiet after retirement. Thinking, you know, if they ever cast racers as guest stars, a small smirk crept on his face, not pushing too hard, but clearly imagining Nazo in a silly ghost-themed sitcom scene. Rick nodded. Mom and Young Sheldon were massive hits too, long-running shows with big audiences. Nazo had probably passed on similar opportunities without even realizing it. Man, you could have been a regular on something like that. Maybe played a retired racer or something. A crew member nearby chimed in, or guest starred as a rival to the main character. Nazo chuckled softly, not bitter, just accepting how life goes. The timing never aligned. They were busy racing when those shows started, then retired before getting more calls. Lightning stayed quiet. But he wondered if Nazo ever regretted it at all. Rick's expression softened. He understood now. It wasn't about fame or money. It was about memory. Something fun to look back on when racing was truly over. Yeah, I get that. Like a little something extra outside the track. Nazo had given their whole life to racing, their passion, their time. And while they loved it, everyone deserves a side story too. Lightning finally spoke up. You could still do one someday. You're not retired yet. A small hope there. Not pushing them into acting full time, but maybe just one show, one guest spot. For nostalgia's sake. Me goders are, man. Rick sighed, not dismissively, but sadly. He knew how the entertainment world worked. Once you're out of the public eye for a long time, opportunities don't just come back on their own. It's true. Once you disappear from TV, they kind of move on. A quiet moment passed. The reality that Nazo might never get that guest role, no matter how much they deserved it, settled in. Lightning frowned too. He hated seeing someone with so much heart miss out because life didn't line up right. Mater scratched his hood nervously. Maybe if we ask really nicely. Mater deflated a little, realizing his optimism didn't always fix things. But Nazo's calm acceptance, it's okay, made it sting less. Rick placed a gentle hand on Nazo's shoulder, not pitying them, just acknowledging the quiet sadness of missed chances. Still, you did everything else right. Racing legend? Check. Loyal fans? Check. Heart for the sport? Double check. A crew member nodded in agreement. Some people never get side roles, but they still live full lives. Lightning smiled softly. And you're back now. That counts too. perked up. Now that was a great question. Racing archives? Footage of old races? Oh, absolutely. NASCAR and other networks kill the race footage forever. High def, low res, everything. A producer nearby nodded. Yeah, they've got whole vaults with classic races on file. Nazo's eyes lit up slightly. They hadn't realized their past races were still out there, preserved. Excited. So if you wanted to watch one of your old wins, you totally could. Mater, like a time machine for racing. Rick thought for a second, then brightened. Not hard at all, actually. If you contact NASCAR's archives or even racing networks like ESPN, they can probably restore your old races in HD and put them on DVD. A crew member added, or upload them to streaming platforms. Some racers have their full career available online now. Lightning got excited. You could watch all of your past races whenever you want. Mater gasped. Like a Nazo movie marathon? The idea of seeing themselves race again, clearer than ever, must have been thrilling. Rick's smile softened. Nazo wasn't doing this for themselves. They wanted the fans to have access again. The same fans who missed them, cheered for them, cried at their comeback. That's really sweet of you. A crew member murmured your fans would lose it, seeing your races in HD. Like a gift. Lightning looked genuinely touched. Nazo cared more about preserving their legacy for others than personal nostalgia. Mater bounced. You're gonna make so many people happy. The thought of die-hard fans finally getting to rewatch every second of Nazo's career, that'd be special. Rick's eyes sparkled with excitement. This was turning into a secret project. Ooh, a surprise launch? That's perfect. Nazo wanted to unveil it themselves on their own terms, not leaked by networks or announced randomly. A grand reveal. Hey fans, I got something for you. Lightning grinned. People are going to freak out when they see the notification pop up. Mater whispered dramatically, a Nazo comeback and old races coming back? Best day ever. The crew exchanged glances. They were already imagining the social media explosion. The sun blazed over the track as Nazo and Lightning stood side by side in the paddock, wearing their team uniforms. Nazo in sleek silver blue, Lightning in his iconic red. The 2026 racing season had officially begun. Crews buzzed around them, mechanics checking tires, sponsors taking photos for promotional material. The air buzzed with anticipation. The entire racing world knew Nazo was back. To Nazo, ready for your first practice session? Nazo took a deep breath. The moment of truth. Not just returning to TV or interviews, but actually getting behind the wheel again. First real test since comeback. Nazo gave a small, determined nod. Just focus. They walked with Lightning toward the pit lane, where their race cars waited, pristine, polished, and ready to roar. The crowd of fans along the trackside waved signs. Welcome back, Nazo! Lightning and Nazo forever! Crew chief signaled them both forward as mechanics double-checked final settings. All right, both of you, get in. Practice session starts in 2 minutes. Lightning glanced at Nazo one last time. A silent check-in. You good? Nazo got into their car, engine humming to life. Lightning gave Nazo a small fist bump through the open car windows. A quiet good luck between racers who understood the weight of this moment. Grinning, knock 'em dead. Nazo smirked, buckling in. The engine growled beneath them, alive, powerful. This wasn't just practice. It was their first real test since returning to racing. Around them, other cars began rolling onto the track. Rookies warming up engines, veterans doing final checks. The flags were about to wave. First session of 2026, Nazo's official comeback on 4 wheels. The practice session ended with a loud checkered flag waving across the track. Cars slowed, coasting into the pits as mechanics rushed to check tires and data. Nazo pulled in, engine cooling, sweat practically beading on their hood, metaphorically. They hadn't raced competitively in years, but they'd held their own out there. Rolling up beside him, how'd it feel? Nazo took a second to answer. They were breathing hard from focus, not exhaustion. The rush of speed after so long? Addicting. Crew chief approached with clipboard. Great first run. Times are solid for your comeback. The crew chief nodded enthusiastically. Top 5 in their first practice session after years away? That was impressive. Crew chief, not bad at all. You're right where you need to be. Lightning's been pushing hard, but you matched him. Lightning smirked, not offended. Proud, actually. Nazo hadn't lost a step. A group of reporters and camera crews began gathering near the pit area. They'd seen the times flash on screen and wanted reactions. Shouting, Nazo, how does it feel being back out there? Nazo turned toward them. The spotlight was shifting again. This time because of performance, not nostalgia. The reporter's face softened at Nazo's poetic answer. The quote was simple but perfect. Racing felt like home after a long absence. Cameras flashed, capturing the moment. Lightning overheard and smiled, because yeah, that summed it up perfectly. Grinning, so you didn't feel rusty? Like muscle memory just kicked in? Nazo shook their head slightly, felt natural. Like I never left. A nearby mechanic chuckled, wiping grease off his hands. Man, that's beautiful. Fans watching live feeds online already started sharing clips of the interview with hearts and fire emojis. The reporter's expression shifted to something more understanding, not pity, but respect. They knew age was a factor in racing, and Nazo was being honest about it. Gently, you're not the youngest on the track, but you've got experience they don't. Lightning nodded beside them. He'd seen it firsthand. Younger racers relied on raw speed, while veterans like Nazo had strategy, precision, and nerves of steel. A passing rookie overheard and glanced over, curious. Most newcomers didn't realize how much skill came with years. To Nazo, age means nothing if your mind's sharp, and yours, sharp as ever. Nazo straightened up. They were right. Practice was over. The real race, qualifying round, was coming soon. No more warm-ups, no second chances. Yep, you've got 30 minutes to cool down, hydrate, and get prepped. Lightning gave a small salute before heading off toward his own pit crew for final checks. Both of them knew qualifying determined starting positions, and those mattered big time. A mechanic handed Nazo a water bottle as they walked back to their car bay. The paddock buzzed louder now, everyone gearing up for the serious part, racing under pressure. In the quiet of the team's private lounge, Nazo sat on a bench and pulled out their phone. They took a deep breath. This was it. Time to make things official. First call, NASCAR Archives. A polite representative answered, and Nazo explained. They wanted their old races restored in HD for fan release. Archives is still, sir. First, it's the first sure. We actually just digitized most 90s footage. We can do that. A second call went to ESPN's racing division. They handled streaming content. A comeback announcement with bonus archival releases? That'd be huge. Nazo felt relief spreading. This wasn't just possible, it was happening. The ESPN rep sounded genuinely excited on the other end. This wasn't just a request, it was a fan service moment. Fans have been begging for old races to come back online. This is perfect timing with your return. Nazo smiled. They could practically hear fans cheering already, scrolling through Nazo Classic races on streaming platforms. After finalizing details, release date 1 week from now, Nazo hung up and leaned back. They hadn't just revived their career, they were giving something back to the people who never stopped loving them. A quiet but powerful move, no hype needed. Nazo looked up from their phone. The knock came again, gentle but firm. They called out, "Come in." The door opened, revealing Lightning McQueen peeking in, still in his racing suit, but relaxed now that practice was over. "Hey, you busy?" He stepped inside and closed the door softly behind him. The lounge was quiet compared to the noisy paddock outside, perfect for a private chat between teammates. Lightning walked further in, his wheels clicking softly on the floor. He had a curious but supportive look, like he was there to check on them, not just chat. "Oh, the fan surprise thing?" "Short-tongue milestone." Nazo nodded. They hadn't told him exactly what it was yet, but Lightning seemed to already know it involved fans and their past. He sat down, across from Nazo, resting his arms, hood, on the table. Smiling? "It sounds cool. You're really doing something nice for them." A pause. "So, when's the big reveal?" Lightning's eyes lit up. 1 week. That was close enough to feel exciting. A week? Okay, cool. You're gonna blow their minds. He could already picture the fan reactions. Surprise tweets, YouTube clips replaying Nazo's old races, forums exploding with nostalgia. Grinning, I bet they're gonna cry. Like full-on happy tears. A quiet moment passed. They both knew how much this meant. Not just a comeback racer interview, but something for the fans. Straight from Nazo's heart. Lightning snapped his fingers. Yes, Rick's show was the perfect platform. High ratings, racing fans tuned in weekly, and Rick would 100% hype it up. Oh yeah, host Rick's Racing Roundup show? That's huge. This that foe. Nazo could picture it, sitting across from Rick on live TV. The segment would build suspense before revealing, "We've got something special for you fans." A producer probably already knew about Nazo returning to TV too. I bet he'd be stoked to do that with you. Nazo glanced at their phone. The caller ID flashed. Host Rick. Right on time, like the universe was lining things up. They answered, putting it on speaker so Lightning could hear too. On the line? Hey, I just got off a call with my producer, and we love your idea for revealing the old races. Lightning perked up instantly. Rick sounded enthusiastic. This was going to work out perfectly. Rick flipped through his schedule on screen. He had a busy week, but he cleared space for Nazo's big moment. How about Friday night? That's our highest rated show of the week. Prime time. Lightning nodded approvingly. That was smart. Friday, most fans watching, no competition from other sports. We can build hype all day. Then bam! Surprise reveal during the finale segment. A perfect plan. Teasing fans with cryptic messages. Some huge coming until the grand announcement. Rick's face lit up. Yes, Lightning is a guest on the same show? That was genius. Oh my gosh, yes. Having Lightning there to talk about how Nazo inspired him, their friendship, the comeback, it'd be emotional, heartwarming, and bring fans double the content they loved. Two legends in one episode. Excited, I'm texting my producer right now. We'll do a full special segment with both of you. Lightning looked thrilled too. They hadn't realized they'd get to be part of this moment for Nazo's fans. Rick nodded vigorously. Lightning did have overlapping fans, especially with younger racers. But more than that, their dynamic as rivals turned friends was iconic. It's a match made in racing heaven. Your comeback plus Lightning hyping you up, fans are gonna lose it. Who makes a juice about this? The show would basically be Nazo revealing the archived races, Lightning sharing his thoughts on their bond, possible tearful fan reactions already rolling in during live TV, a full circle moment, Nazo returning to the screen with his biggest supporter right beside him. The studio lights blazed as the Racing Roundup theme music blared. Friday night, prime time. The audience was packed, buzzing with anticipation. Excited. Welcome to a special edition of Racing Roundup. Tonight, we've got big news. A huge screen behind him flashed. Coming soon, Nazo's Legacy. The crowd gasped. Some fans already screeching in recognition. Lightning sat beside Rick on a guest couch, looking proud. Dramatic pause. And our first guest tonight, the one and only Lightning McQueen. Lightning rolled forward, waving to the roaring crowd. Fans screamed his name, some holding signs with both Lightning and Nazo's faces side by side. Grinning, Lightning, man, you're here for a very special reason tonight. The camera zoomed in on Lightning as Rick gestured toward the screen, where footage of old races began playing, Nazo's 1990s highlights. A hush fell over the audience. They hadn't seen these clips in years. Some fans clutched their hearts, remembering. Lightning watched the screen with quiet respect as Nazo's old races played. Sleek footage of their signature moves, epic finishes, and iconic moments. The crowd murmured in awe. Thostre, Lightning, what do you think when you see these? Lightning took a breath. The question wasn't just about nostalgia. It was about legacy. Honest, I think, wow. He was incredible back then, and he still is. A few fans teared up at that simple but heartfelt line from racing's biggest star right now. Rick nodded, letting the moment linger. The weight of Lightning's respect for Nazo speaking volumes. The footage kept rolling, a slow-motion replay of one of Nazo's most famous overtakes. To audience, now we've got more to show you. A new graphic appeared. Nazo archived races full HD collection. The crowd erupted, cheers, clapping, phones held up filming. That's right! Starting tomorrow on our streaming platform and other networks too, you'll finally be able to watch every single race from Nazo's career, all restored in high definition. Cue deafening cheers and applause. The studio erupted in cheers, fans jumping, clapping, some even crying. This was a dream come true for die-hard Nazo fans who had spent years hoping to rewatch his races. Oh man, look at these reactions. You guys are loving this. Audience members chanted. Nazo, as the screen showed a montage of restored race clips, crystal clear HD versions of moments they'd only seen on grainy old footage before. Lightning smiled widely beside Rick. The joy in the room was contagious. Fans weren't just happy, they were overjoyed. Rick turned back to Lightning, microphone still hot. Time for a quick Q&A before Nazo's grand entrance. Lightning, when you first saw Nazo race in person as a rookie, what was your reaction? The audience leaned in. Everyone wanted to hear this. Even the crew behind cameras paid attention. Lightning chuckled, recalling that moment years ago, watching the legendary racer up close for the first time. It had been life-changing. Lightning's expression turned nostalgic, his voice warm as he answered. I was in awe. Like, wow, this guy? He raced like a machine. No mistakes, perfect lines. Audience members nodded. They remembered that era too. Nazo being untouchable on the track. Smiling, and then you two became rivals. How did that feel? Lightning exhaled dramatically. Their rivalry had been intense but respectful. The crowd loved drama between legends. Lightning rubbed his hood slightly, recalling the competitive fire between them. It was electric. Every race against him, I had to be at my absolute best. No slacking. He grinned, no bitterness, just pure admiration. Rivalries like theirs pushed both racers to new heights. Teasing? And now? How do you feel about him coming back? The audience held their breath. This answer mattered. Fans wanted to know if Lightning saw Nazo as competition again, or something else entirely. Lightning didn't hesitate. His answer was immediate, genuine. I'm happy. Like, thrilled. Seeing him race again? It's awesome. He meant it. No jealousy, no fear of competition, just pure joy for a legend returning to the sport they both loved. Audience members awed at his sincerity. Some even called out, "That's so sweet. They're like racing brothers." Rick smiled. This dynamic was everything fans hoped for. Two icons who respected each other deeply. Rick glanced at the monitor. Nazo was backstage, ready. The perfect moment. Excited, all right, folks. This is the part you've been waiting for. A hush fell over the audience. Camera zoomed in on a side door as dramatic music swelled, the kind used for big reveals. The door opened slowly, and there stood Nazo, looking calm but visibly touched by all the cheers erupting around them. Crowd! Nazo! 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 The crowd went wild as Nazo walked onto the stage, taking a seat right next to Lightning. The two racers exchanged a quiet, warm glance, no words needed. Grinning, "Look at this! The legend himself is here with us tonight." Fans screamed even louder, seeing them side by side, two icons of racing history in one place. Some fans held up signs, "Nazo plus Lightning, welcome home!" Rick let the moment breathe for a second. The pure joy in the room was electric. The audience leaned forward, eyes wide with anticipation. Nazo's calm tone and serious expression told them this was the big moment. Rick gestured to the screen behind them, ready to roll footage. Smiling, "All right, folks, let's see what Nazo has prepared." A button was pressed, and suddenly a trailer played. Highlights of restored HD races, glimpses of old tracks from the 90s, 2000s. Text on screen. Nazo's Legacy Collection, now streaming, then erupted in cheers and applause. The audience lost it, cheering, clapping, some even standing up. This wasn't just a nostalgic surprise, it was a gift every race Nazo ever ran, now preserved in stunning HD 4K quality. Rick beamed beside them as fans shouted, "We love you, Nazo! Best comeback ever!" Audience members were already pulling out phones to pre-order the DVD collection or open streaming apps to watch right then. Laughing, "Nazo, you've just made millions of fans the happiest people alive." Lightning gave Nazo an elbow nudge, a proud, grateful smile on his face. Nazo's humble words hit hard. The crowd quieted for a second, touched by their selflessness. They weren't just reviving their career or making money, they were doing this for the fans. Lightning nodded solemnly beside them, agreeing completely. In racing or any industry, losing touch with your roots? That was dangerous. That's really beautiful. A few fans in the audience had tears in their eyes. Not dramatic crying, but quiet gratitude. Nazo hadn't changed. They still cared as deeply as ever. One fan shouted, "Thank you for remembering us." Nazo gave a small, warm wave to the crowd before rolling off stage, letting Lightning take the spotlight for a moment. The audience cheered as they left, still buzzing about the big reveal. Rick turned back to Lightning, who looked genuinely touched by Nazo's gesture. To Lightning, that was really classy of him, stepping aside so you could wrap things up. Lightning nodded, taking a deep breath as cameras focused on him again, ready to share his final thoughts on this emotional night. Lightning faced the audience, his usual confident demeanor softened by sincerity. He wasn't just a guest, he was speaking for everyone who loved Nazo. To fans, I hope you all enjoy every second of those races. Watching them again? It's like reliving history. A pause. Then he added with quiet passion, "Nazo isn't just back on track, they're back in our hearts too." The crowd erupted one last time, cheering and clapping as the segment came to a close, the perfect ending to an unforgettable night. The studio lights dimmed as the show officially ended. Crew members began packing up, and fans in the audience stood to leave, still buzzing about Nazo's big announcement. Backstage, Lightning found Nazo chatting with Rick near a snack table. The energy was light now, no cameras rolling. To Nazo, that went perfectly. Social media is already exploding. A producer showed them their phones, tweets like, "Nazo is the king! I'm buying that DVD first thing tomorrow!" Lightning walked over with a proud smile. They just made racing history again. Lightning chuckled, remembering his own early days before social media blew up. Back then, fans got highlights on TV or in magazines, not live tweets and instant reactions. Yeah, I get that. It's wild how fast things move now. Nazo had been retired during the peak of YouTube streaming, missing out on digital hype cycles. But seeing this level of fan engagement for their return must have felt surreal. A publicist handed Nazo a tablet showing comments. "We waited 20 years for this. Thank you for coming back to us." Lightning's expression turned thoughtful. He'd seen trends rise and fall too. One day, something was everywhere. The next, forgotten. Honest, yeah, fads come and go. But this, your comeback? He gestured to the still rolling comments on Nazo's old races. "This isn't a trend, it's real. Fans have been waiting for this." A publicist nodded in agreement. They'd done market research. Interest in classic racers had been steadily growing for years. Lightning shook his head firmly, not dismissing Nazo's worry, but refusing to let it take hold. Nah, be old news, not with how big this is. He meant it. They weren't just a comeback. They were bringing back an entire era of racing history. That wasn't something fans would forget in weeks. A publicist added, classics never get old. People will keep rewatching your races for years. The digital world might move fast, but legends, they lasted. Lightning tapped his hood, a gesture that meant thinking deeply. It's not about how long something lasts, it's about making sure what you do sticks. Nazo had just dropped a whole HD collection plus DVDs, physical and digital. That wasn't going away. Fans would revisit it, share clips, recommend it. A publicist smiled. Think of old movies or songs. They don't fade if people keep loving them. The key? Quality content that fans couldn't ignore. Lightning blinked, then laughed, recognizing the reference. Metallica song? A classic. Oh man, yeah, Enter Sandman is timeless, still played everywhere. Nazo had a point. Some things just stuck. They didn't fade because they resonated too deeply with people. A crew member nearby grinned. Your races are going to be like that. Classic vibes. Metallica wasn't forgotten. Neither would Nazo's legacy if fans kept loving it as much as they clearly did. Lightning suddenly realized Mater had been missing since the show started. Where was that little tow truck? Looking around. You're right. Where is Mater? A crew member pointed toward a back hallway. They'd seen him earlier, probably sneaking snacks or chatting with stagehands. Then, suddenly, a loud clang echoed from somewhere off stage, followed by Mater's unmistakable voice. Oops, did I do that? The whole team sighed affectionately. Classic Mater. What's her trigger? Train cool the train to 2G suit. Lightning exhaled in relief. Mater was safe, just being his usual chaotic self. That loud clang probably came from him knocking over a prop or something. A stagehand poked their head out and confirmed. Yeah, he's fine. Just rearranged a lampstand. Typical Mater. Harmless, but always causing mild panic wherever he went. Man, glad nothing broke. Nazo smiled slightly. They'd missed this kind of silly normalcy after all the big reveals tonight. Lightning rubbed his hood, considering the next steps. With Nazo's big reveal out of the way, it was time to focus on racing. Next, qualifying races in 2 days. Then, actual first race of the season. A crew chief walked by with a clipboard, reminding them. Practice starts tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. Nazo had a real competition ahead. No more TV spots or nostalgia, just pure high-stakes racing. The comeback tour was just getting started. Lightning nodded. Sleep was crucial. Races demanded peak performance, and that started with rest. Yeah, good call. Gotta be fresh for qualifying. They exchanged a quick fist bump, while Hood tapped, before heading their separate ways. Nazo's team had a motorhome ready. Lightning would head to his own. A publicist called out as they walked. Don't stay up too late scrolling through fan tweets either. The paddock quieted down for the night. The calm before the storm of race week. Nazo jolted awake in their motorhome, heart pounding. That dream was weird. Mater, their husband, doing everything for him while staring at his teeth. What even? A soft knock came on the door. Lightning checking in after hearing them stir, whispering, "You okay?" Nazo blinked, still half asleep and embarrassed by the absurdity of it all. They mumbled, "Yeah, just a really weird dream about Mater." Lightning froze, then burst out laughing silently to avoid waking others. Lightning covered his mouth to muffle his laughter, shoulders shaking. A dream about Mater as Nazo's husband? That was golden. Whispering through giggle. That's wild. Nazo rubbed their face, mortified but also weirdly amused now. The details were ridiculous. Mater's teeth, the servitude vibes. A beat of silence passed before Lightning added with a grin. Did he at least make you happy in the dream? The question was teasing but genuinely curious. The absurdity had layers. Lightning's eyes widened. They'd been in the dream too? Grinning. Wait, I was racing while you were married to Mater? What kind of bizarre crossover is this? Nazo nodded, half laughing now. The dream had logic only sleep could conjure. Lightning competing on track, Mater being doted on by Nazo as his doting spouse, and everyone just vibing. A crew member passing by outside heard muffled laughter and smirked. They had no idea what wild dream fueled this midnight giggle session. Lightning stifled another chuckle, nodding. They both had early practice tomorrow. No more late-night dream debates. Right. See you at 8 a.m. sharp. They gave a lazy salute before quietly heading back to their own motorhome, still amused by the surreal mater-wife dreamscape Nazo had just described. Nazo flopped back onto their pillow. They'd probably forget the details by morning. But for now, the weirdest sleep of their comeback life. Nazo's new dream kicked off with a plot twist. Now they were married to Lightning, and somehow Mater was the dominant figure in this bizarre hierarchy. Lightning seemed weirdly okay with it. The dream logic was flawless, in sleepy terms. Nazo as Lightning's spouse, but Mater had authority over them both, somehow. A soft beep from their alarm clock jolted them awake again. 6:30 a.m. Practice in an hour. Nazo groaned, rubbing their eyes. Two dreams about relationships with tow trucks? Their subconscious had issues. Lightning, still half asleep in his motorhome, suddenly twitched as a new dream took over. This one? Even stranger. Nazo and Lightning? Married? That was unexpected. And then Mater being the top of something? Their brain hadn't processed the details yet, but it felt dominant somehow. A weird power dynamic. Nazo with Lightning, but Mater calling the shots above them both. The dream logic was nonsense, yet compelling in a surreal way. Lightning mumbled incoherently in his sleep. Mater's boss now? In the dream, Nazo, usually the dominant, respected racer, found himself under Mater. Not in a romantic way, but in a bizarre hierarchy where Mater was firmly on top. Power flip! The tiny tow truck had all the control here. He wasn't just married to Lightning anymore. He was beneath Mater, who seemed to have established dominance over everyone. Lightning, still asleep, frowned slightly. The dream felt weirdly intense for something so absurd. But his subconscious didn't question it. It just rolled with it. Mater, in the dream, had a smug little grin, like he knew his newfound authority. Nazo, still trapped under him, felt an odd mix of confusion and surrender, because apparently this was just how things were now. A weirdly specific hierarchy. Mater, top. Lightning and Nazo, bottom. The dream lacked any context or logic, but it played out vividly. Meanwhile, real-life Lightning shifted slightly in his sleep, one ear twitching as Mater's dominance continued ruling the subconscious scene. The dream shifted. Mater suddenly spoke, his voice surprisingly deep and authoritative for a tiny tow truck. Yep, This is how it is. Nazo in the dream could only stare up at him, accepting their new role. Meanwhile, Lightning, still asleep, unconsciously hugged a pillow, maybe dreaming of being part of this bizarre Mater-led system too. Outside the motorhomes, dead silence. The paddock slept peacefully, unaware that its two biggest stars were trapped in a surreal Mater domination fantasy. Morning came too soon, the blaring alarm of the practice schedule jolting both Lightning and Nazo awake. They rubbed their eyes, groggy, and immediately forgot the entire dream. Yawning. 7 a.m. Nazo stretched, rolling out of bed. No trace left of Mater's weird hierarchy or any romantic entanglements with Lightning. Just reality. Coffee, breakfast, and qualifying in a few hours. A crew member knocked. Breakfast is ready. Time to fuel up. The race week grind had officially begun. No time for bizarre dreams now. Nazo quickly got ready, shower, breakfast, and suiting up in their racing gear. The motorhome buzzed with quiet activity as the team prepped for practice. Outside, the track was already alive. Other racers warming up engines, mechanics checking tires. The sun rose over Cars 3, the start of a big day. A teammate handed Nazo a coffee. Here you go, today's the day. First official qualifying session awaited. No more dreams or TV spots, just pure competition ahead. Nazo spotted Lightning and Mater by the pit lane. Lightning adjusting his mirrors, Mater chatting animatedly, probably about breakfast. They looked completely normal, no hint of last night's very weird dreams. Mater noticed Nazo first and waved enthusiastically. Morning! You sleep okay? Lightning glanced over too, smiling. If they remembered anything from their subconscious adventures, they didn't show it. Not a single awkward glance or side eye. Lightning took a sip of his coffee, completely unfazed by the dreams. Slept great, ready to crush practice. Mater, meanwhile, was buzzing with energy. No sleep issues for him. I had a real good dream. Nazo tensed slightly. Please don't let it be about last night's bizarre scenarios. But Mater just grinned and added, about winning a pie-eating contest at Wheezy's Diner. A harmless dream. Thank goodness. Go to tram? Now stutter puppy. Mater's eyes lit up. He loved food competitions. The idea of a pie-eating contest after the season ended? Perfect. Mater, yes, I'm gonna win for sure. Lightning chuckled, used to Mater's overconfidence about eating contests. It was a sweet, normal topic, a far cry from the wild dreams they'd both had. A crew member called out, "Practice starts in 15." The trio finished their coffee and headed toward the track. The real racing day was finally here. Lightning and Mater exchanged quick fist bumps with Nazo, a good luck gesture, before heading to their respective lanes. Thanks! We'll crush it! Mater gave a double thumbs up, then zoomed off toward the practice lane where he'd be doing some light laps. No competitive pressure for him. Nazo watched them go, then took a deep breath. Their own qualifying session was coming up soon. Time to focus. No more dreams, just pure racing instinct now.